Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at this interesting text just called Chapter 70,
Mhm.
and it tackles a topic we think we know: simplicity.
Right. But it's not quite the usual take, is it? It's not really a step-by-step guide to, tidying up.
No, definitely not. It goes deeper. It looks at simplicity more as a practice, an internal thing, and really crucially, how you see the world.
Exactly. It's about perception.
So our mission here is to unpack that, because honestly, some of it feels a bit counterintuitive.
It does challenge some common ideas, like what simplicity is, maybe why it's tougher than it seems.
And what the source says you need to actually learn to like, which
Mm.
is an interesting phrase in itself.
Yeah, it starts right there. The first big idea is basically learn to like what doesn't cost much.
Okay.
Those things, it argues, are what's truly worth your time.
That draws the line pretty quickly. It says, you can buy your way into things and places.
But you can't actually buy the experience of them.
Yeah,
It separates the transaction from the actual, feeling or engagement.
right. Buying the concert ticket versus actually getting lost in the music.
Precisely. And that's where it really pivots. It says point blank, it's not what you do, it's what you perceive.
So the focus shifts inward immediately. It's about how you interpret even the really simple, mundane stuff.
Mm-hmm. Finding the value in the everyday.
So what does that look like? Does it give examples?
Oh, yeah. Lots. And they're like super accessible, not fancy things.
Like what?
Well, reading. Just
Yeah.
reading whatever you genuinely enjoy.
Okay, simple enough.
Talking to people. And it adds this interesting bit, quote, even when they're not the same as you.
Hmm.
And it connects that to this idea that understanding truths can coexist, that is what sets you free. Quite a deep thought tucked in there.
It really is. Wow. Okay, what else?
Simple food, cooking it, being in nature, but the easy stuff. Fields, trees, camping, walking.
No extreme sports required.
Not at all. Just being there, watching a fire, seeing the day start or end. Quiet things, too, like writing or burning candles on a rainy summer evening. Very specific, that one.
I like that image. It's evocative.
Yeah. And even just like daily comforts, clean sheets, washing dishes presented as almost therapeutic.
Huh. I usually rush through that one.
Maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Hot baths, drinking water and actually noticing it. Long drives with no real destination.
So it's about finding richness in things that are already around us just by paying attention differently.
That seems to be the core idea. Yeah, perception first.
Okay, so it starts with these external things, the simple pleasures, but then it seems to move more inward.
Definitely. It connects us to your internal state. Keep your needs simple, keep your wants small.
Which isn't about punishing yourself, right?
Mm.
More about less internal chatter.
I think so. Less noise.
Mm.
And it links this to being present. The classic mindfulness things, breathing deep, really tasting food.
Sleeping deeply, things we know are good for us but often neglect.
Right. But then it gets into emotions. And this is where it gets maybe a bit more challenging for some people. Well, it talks about letting laughter just go. Carry on until you're sweating and out of breath.
Yeah.
Fully embracing it.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
But then it applies the same kind of logic to difficult emotions, like anger. It says when you get angry, get really angry, just let things burn through you.
Whoa, okay. That sounds intense. And maybe a little scary. Just letting anger rip.
It does sound tense.
Yeah.
But the source gives a reason. It argues it's not the anger itself or sadness or whatever that actually controls you.
What controls you then?
Your resistance to the feeling, pushing it down, trying to ignore it. That, it says, keeps it tucked in their place in your soul, locked away, basically.
Ah, okay. So resisting the feeling gives it power, keeps it stuck. Letting it burn through is about letting it pass through you, not get lodged inside.
That seems to be the idea. It's the resistance that's the problem, not the feeling.
And does it say anything about negative thoughts? Same principle.
Pretty much, yeah. Let them drift back to where they came from nowhere. Don't grab onto them. Don't build stories around them. Just observe and let go. It's all part of this internal simplification.
Okay, that makes sense in a way.
Yeah.
But then the source throws this curveball, I thought.
Yeah.
It talks about success.
Yes. The effortless part.
Right. It says, do the things that are effortless. Let them be effortless. And even find love that's effortless, that just goes against everything we're usually told.
Completely. The narrative is always about the grind. Right?
Yeah.
Grueling, soul-bending hard work is how the source puts it. That's what supposedly earns success.
We celebrate the struggle. The harder it was, the more we value the outcome, kind of.
Exactly. But this text suggests that belief that suffering is required is something we impose on ourselves.
We do it to ourselves. Why?
Because the source argues. When success is effortless, it feels unmerited. Like we didn't earn it if it wasn't a huge struggle.
Mm.
We feel suspicious, almost guilty.
Huh. So we distrust ease.
Seems like it. And the text says that's how we create problems where there are none. By resisting the easy path, by thinking it has to be hard.
We complicate things because simple feels wrong.
Potentially, yeah, according to this perspective.
Okay, so simplifying isn't just internal thoughts and emotions. It extends outwards, too, to our environment.
Yes, definitely. Talks about your physical space. The advice is decide to keep nothing but what is meaningful and purposeful.
Intentional curation. Decluttering with a purpose beyond just tidiness.
Right. And it describes the feeling this creates being surrounded only by things that bring up security, purpose, meaning, joy. It suggests this grounds your daily life in a kind of quiet happiness.
I like that idea. And it mentions when there's not enough to make a mess, everything feels more settled. There's a link between external order and internal calm.
Which kind of brings us to this central paradox the source points out.
Which is?
The complexity is often the easiest choice.
Wait, hang on. Complexity feels difficult, stressful. How is it easy?
It's easy in the sense that it's often the path of least resistance, mentally. It's easy to get wound up and bound down, as the text says, to let worries and fears spin out of control.
Ah, okay. It's easy to get lost in the mental weeds, the overthinking, the what-ifs.
Exactly, letting thoughts and fears run narratives into storylines, into realities we live out. That complex internal drama can feel almost automatic sometimes.
So that's why simplicity is hard. Not because the simple actions are difficult, but because stopping that complex internal noise is difficult.
That's precisely the point the source makes. Simplicity is difficult because it requires clean thinking.
Clean thinking, what does that mean exactly?
The source describes it as the long, hard way to a cleansed perception. Think of it like looking at the world through a smudged, dusty window.
You can still see out, but it's distorted, grimy.
Right. Cleansed perception is like cleaning that window, seeing things clearly, not shadowed by conditioning or negative thoughts, seeing reality more directly.
And this clear view, this cleansed perception, the source says it's truly yours.
Yes, yours and yours always. Unlike possessions.
Ah, that's a key distinction. It uses the example of belongings, right?
Yeah, it says you could have 100 items, keep them your whole life, but eventually every single one will break, wear out, get lost, replaced, become obsolete. They're temporary.
Everything material eventually goes away.
But your perception of how meaningful and useful those temporary things were, how much you appreciated and enjoyed them, that's yours. That internal experience, that appreciation, that endures.
So the real value isn't the thing, but your relationship to the thing, your perception of it.
Exactly. And living from that place of appreciation and clear perception, the source claims, is what makes the ordinary miraculous.
Finding the extraordinary in the everyday through this lens of simplicity. Okay, this ties into how the source views happiness then, because everyone wants to be happy, right?
Yeah.
And we usually chase it through external stuff, stability, love, money.
Right. The source acknowledges that. It even nods to things like happy psychology and connects this chase for happiness back to, a country founded on seeking unbridled, radical happiness, freedom, opportunity.
But then it offers a pretty sharp critique.
It does. It basically says, look, we've built the houses, the companies, the relationships focused on maxing out pleasure. But are we actually happier? The implication is no.
And the reason for that, according to this text,
We haven't changed the fundamental thing,
yeah,
how we think.
that's the root cause, our thinking patterns.
It's presented as the only real change that ever happens. Because how we think is the basis of how we feel. You can rearrange all the furniture on the Titanic, but if the thinking the ship is still going down,
We haven't solved the real problem. Makes sense.
and it links the very size or richness of your life to this internal state.
yeah.
The magnitude of one's life is directly parallel to how deep their perception of it is.
So your life expands not just by getting more stuff, but by deepening your perception. Your life grows as you do.
Precisely. What you experience is a reflection of what you are. It's all interconnected.
And there's a sense of urgency towards the end.
Yeah, a very direct plea almost.
Yeah.
Do not forget that you do not have forever to do this, to change this.
Don't waste time. It contrasts letting time slip away, chasing the light in people and money. It's more and more and more.
With doing the internal work,
Yeah.
turning inward to find that clarity.
But then there's this really powerful twist right at the end.
The kicker, yeah. He says, you don't find the light, the ability to perceive, because you already are it.
Wow. So it's not something external you have to acquire. This clear perception, this light, it's innate.
That's the suggestion. It's already within you. You are that capacity.
So if we already are the light, if we already have this capacity for clear perception, what's the actual work involved? Why is simplicity hard?
Because, according to the source, the work is getting rid of everything that stands in the way.
Ah, it's subtractive, not additive.
Exactly. The work isn't about finding the light. It's about removing the obstacles, the conditioning, the fears, the narratives that are blocking the light that you already are.
So wrapping up this deep dive into chapter 70, the core message really isn't about owning fewer things or doing less, is it?
No, not primarily.
Yeah.
It's much more about cultivating this clear, cleansed perception, learning to see the profound value and meaning in ordinary life.
And the real work, the difficult part of simplicity, is actually shedding all the internal stuff, the thoughts, the
Yeah.
fears, the ingrained stories that cloud that perception we apparently already have access to.
Right. It's about clearing the internal clutter to let that innate clarity shine through.
Which leaves us with a pretty potent question, drawing from the source. If simplicity is difficult because it requires this clean thinking, this clearing away of obstacles, what things, maybe thoughts, fears, external pressures, those narratives we tell ourselves, what things are making complexity feel like the easier, perhaps more familiar path in your own life right now.
Yeah. What's standing in the way? Definitely something to think about.